kind of not that happy going into it right now, because from a lower time frame, I don't think we're far enough away from the mean to make it worth my while. So yeah,
Gold tilted 71 here right now.
Yeah. But it's attempting to go back into the initial balance. So if that remains for another 20 minutes or so, there could be a trade there. If I don't manage to get the failed auction because the initial balance is a little bit small for the size that we currently have, when we look at the liquidity in gold, there could be a chance for a neutral day, and that's when the range-bound trading should be taken into consideration, and then we can just look for mean reversions from the extremes of the session range. So that would be my second hypothesis. First one being we go higher, second one being we failed the auction, and third one being we get stuck in a range, and then we modify and reassess.
Smart.
We did have some pretty good value rejection in
yes, we did.
The Nasdaq. It's taken out the low of the opening range now.
We did, and we are seeing further weakness in about half of the Mag 7. I mean, pretty much everything but Meta. I mean, yeah, Meta and Tesla are pretty much the only ones that are green on the day. Nvidia's down about 2.5%, so we are seeing some weakness in the market darling that is Nvidia. Everyone knows how I feel about it. We are closing in at the split price of $120 a share.
Nvidia almost getting back to $120. Price to kit. Price to open it for the split, I believe, $120 a share.
Yep.
What did we peak at? $140 maybe sometime last
140
week?
and probably like Nancy started selling calls against her position or something, and naturally we start to retrace a little bit. I mean, that would be the most gangster thing ever, and very much on par for something sounds like she would do. But
she just hammers the market.
Yeah.
All right, sellers in the house here, S&Ps and Nasdaq sellers in the house. I don't know if we're getting to 19,500. Here we go. Let's see if we keep pushing here.
And my 19,500 target on the Nasdaq, that is a weekly target. That is basically, I'm kind of using it, thinking of it as like a week range, more or less, like a full extension, basically, of a typical week range. It would put us right around there, and it just fits. The 20-day moving average is sitting down towards that area, as well as, excuse me, like I said, it cleans up those single prints from the initial CPI, 2% ramp up that we kind of had out of the gate that day. So from a market structure, cleaning up, balanced auctions, as I would call it, that is kind of what you want to see if you're looking for, this to continue to build at higher prices and make new all-time highs. You want to see that structure kind of be built back down a little lower and then rebid off of it.
Yes, exactly.
I like your 19,500. 19,375 is weekly kickoff low in the Nasdaq. Yeah. The weekly kickoff high remains the same because it kissed it on Thursday, and that was it.
And we did reject on the Nasdaq right off the 24-hour VWAP, and have just been kind of cascading waterfalling since then. So I know some people love that quick little longer short off the 24-hour VWAP. I mean, that one was about as clean as it gets. So if you took it around the 960 area.
Just tested down to and checked a naked point of control down at 19,888.
88?
You remember that from last week, Andre? We talked about that level last week.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Well, I guess we're going to try the S&Ps here. We got some SPU levels. 55.27, we're at value area low right now as we speak. I do have two check marks, 5519. 5519, perhaps. Friday lows, maybe along there. Perhaps, but you guys both like room to the downside, so.
I do, but I am seeing absorption here at the lows around 900 on the Nasdaq. So this is you got the Pierce below the overnight low. So this is what I would call potentially a cheap long now that we've kind of bounced back into that range above 900. If we can hold this is kind of where you start to get a cheap long, stop at a new low, and kind of make the range play to start the session. ES's range is so tight, though.
Yes, it is, man.
Interesting.
This would be the long if you were going to take it. I would assume cheap long, like you're saying, Nick.
Yeah.
It's so tight right now. Open up.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a little picky here. I didn't love how. I mean, I would have liked to see a little more excess on that pierce below the overnight low, but we'll see how this kind of builds. But it is holding 900 right now.
Yeah, a little bit slow in the open here, which is okay. Started the week.
And there it goes.
Minutes. Here come the buyers. 900.
Wow. Wow. Yeah,
Easy,
cheap loss.
easy.
There you go.
Buy the 90s, sell you 10. Buy the 90s, sell you 10s. Boom, 20 points. Just like that. Cheap one. In and out. Real quick, in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, you will see the hashtag Fast Markets. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on X. Call it what you want. Tag us there and use the hashtag Fast Markets. Send us your trader setups, your swag, Life Under certificates. Send us anything you want. We'll scrape the internet for you, and we'll show it to you later today in Fast Markets. Again, hit us up at Top Step. Use the hashtag Fast Markets. Be sure to share whatever's on your mind. We'll take a look at it as we get closer. Yeah, what do you got, Nick? Nick, what do you
I received my
Whoa.
hat and pin
Oh, nice.
yesterday in the mail. And I naturally immediately mentioned MP on Twitter asking where my 100K club is.
Oh, you hear that, MP?
So
Tell him, Nick.
had a good laugh. But thank you guys for the hat. I don't know when I filled out that form, but it got here, so it will in fact reach your house if you did fill out that
There you
Google
go.
form. Eventually, it will get there.
Very cool. All right, well, the buyers did step in S&Ps. Nasdaq, you got to be a quick one. Quick in, quick out. Very cool pin, Nick. All right, D, we hit 81 bucks here in crude. We do see a bit of seller come in. We're about 9 cents off those 81 even level, trading $80.91.
We have overnight highs
Okay.
there. So we have the little Asia and London supply with the high around 81.17. So that's what's reacting right now, because it's always a zone. It's not just a singular price point. You have a high, but within that high, you have like a supply area. So we gotta look for the edges of that supply, whether we're gonna get a reaction from it, reversal, or whether we're just gonna go straight through it. For now, we are getting a reversal. If I had to guess, like what sort of a day we're gonna have, it might be that we get stuck in a bit of a range because it is Monday. Mondays can be a little bit slower, and sometimes they have a tendency to be more range bound than some of the rest of the days. And if you look at it statistically, they are on the smaller side when it comes to the session averages. So we need to be a little bit mindful not to try and jump into any momentum trades until proven otherwise. So if there's a clear failed auction, or if there's a clear range, that's great. But if we get a momentum with quite some volume that sustains above the initial balance at some point, I may consider the longs as a momentum trade.
Yeah, see, this is more of an excess low on NQ that I would be looking for to long. I know the first one kind of worked for about 30 points, but we got a little pierce below that. So that's kind of what I wanted to see the first time. Now I'm a little iffy on longing it because it actually could, in theory, be like, hey, we're trending down now. This could easily turn into, like I said, that downside weakness that I'm looking for to kick off the week. Granted, it is post-OPEX, Monday, so a lot of institutions, a lot of big dealers, a lot of people are repositioning and adjusting the way they're hedged and things like that going forward. So it just tends to be a kind of a weirder week with potentially some weakness as they, like I said, they reposition some of their orders, some of their options and things like that. So that's kind of why I was leaning downside.
Yeah, the buyers did get rejected there. Again, this is last week of the month, last week of the quarter as well. We see some
on my charts, I have an NQ that touched in the value low from Friday zone, and that's where the sell-off came from. I wasn't really focusing much on NQ, but it does look kind of short for me. Let's see what happens. I mean, if they start ignoring this average daily range low, which is sitting at 841 in NQ, if we ignore that, then it's going to be one of those trending days. So clearly we're in some sort of inventory adjustment in that case.
And I would imagine, D, that's probably why we're seeing the divergence in ES and NQ right now is the SPX positioning that dealers are potentially doing because it's not moving. So it's pretty much stuck in a range versus NQ is clearly seeing some weakness, about 0.5% divergence right now, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's a lot.
There's a divergence. And then you got the Dow making new highs. Dow shot out of a cannon here. The there's a divergence between S&Ps and Nasdaq. Nasdaq's sitting around the lows.
Had a little DAX long from this morning, so
Very
that
nice.
just reached targets. So that's kind of going the opposite way. Interesting. Usually follows whatever the equities are doing, but it's kind of got a mind of its own recently. Just does its own thing, like Dow.
Yes,
DAX,
it does.
same thing. We do
Love
our
it.
own thing. The rest of the world does not exist.
Looking at Till here, 50-50 across the board. There is 66% long Dow, but like Deanna said, Dow just kind of does its own thing, kind of like the DAX. A bit of a quieter open. We did see some opportunities in Nasdaq. Could have gotten long off those 80s, sold the 10s. There was some more sellers that came in after that. So with that being said, it is Monday to the week, Monday, last week of the month, last week of the quarter. So I want to go to Eddie. Eddie, what do we got on the calendar today? I took a sneak peek, didn't see too much, but I'm sure you looked at it much more carefully than I did.
Yeah, we got wee numbers today. Wee numbers. Coming up in about 38 minutes here, we got the Dallas Fed. It might sort of just be a factor, but I'm not betting the farm on that one. Coming up at 10:30 today Central Time, we got a 3-month bill auction, 6-month bill auction, 1 o'clock today. We might want to keep an eye open for the FOMC member Daly will be speaking, and then later on in the evening, Fed Governor Cook will be speaking. And that's all we've got for today. Back to you, Andre.
Thanks, Eddie. All right. Well, so we do have Cook, or I'm sorry, we have Daily this afternoon. A couple small bill auctions, hour and a half or so, but not too much. So this might be a technical trade. As the headline does hit the wire, which Eddie will be all over and let us know. So all you technicians out there. All right, Nick. Those can't make. I don't know what to make of the Nasdaq with what we just see here in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's kind of that logic where if you took the first long, you may have gotten shaken out of it because it kind of just ripped a quick 20 and then immediately probably stopped you out if you were still holding it. And then it rebids out to probably what was the appropriate long. So that's just a frustrating kind of
brutal
trade because it realistically had you. I mean, I would have been stopped out because I either that or I would have taken a quick profit, but. Most likely you were looking for the range trade on that first long, and it may have, rotated. You were looking for the rotation maybe back to 940s, 950s, and you ended up getting stopped. And now it's going to make the break as ES finally decided to, jump out of bed here and wake up for the first time today.
Sure did, Nick. S&P's about the 8-9 handle rally here. Last 5 minutes of this 5-minute candle I'm looking at. Yeah, brutal on the Nasdaq. You caught your shorts, you didn't take profits. You got long, I probably would have been stopped out too, just to see a rip higher as well. So this is definitely tricky. Brutal, Dolby, brutal. What do you make with this?
Yeah, that's just tough price action, but that's what you can expect. Like I said, end of quarter, post OPEX, end of the month. There's just a lot of weird positioning going on. So I think this is why sometimes it makes sense to wait for. Most institutions are positioning in the first 30 minutes, at least waiting for the first 15. Sometimes before you jump in, it's just. Sometimes it's safer, especially when institutions are positioning at this time of the month, this time of the week.
You got 74% long tilt. Go ahead, Johnny.
We did have some negative delta, mostly in the S&Ps, and we still have negative delta in the Nasdaq right now, minus 1,100, and we're right in the middle of the range right now. S&Ps did kind of reach the high of value from Friday and is continuing to try and push above that. 55.38 was value high.
55.38, yes it is. Got that. Value
Sure,
lows.
if this is going to be enough to drag the Nasdaq into value from Friday because it already rejected it earlier today, as Deanna was pointing out.
Wow, what a move!
Look at that. I thought sellers were going to be in control.
60.5-minute candle there.
I thought sellers were in control.
Did anyone
for a
see
minute.
that?
70.
Did anyone see that Twitter post from Anna Marie with Elmo?
Yes.
We got it.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at. Yeah.
She was dunking on people.
The Nas crack.
Yes.
There we are.
Yes.
There it
Yes.
is.
Me. We love our Nasdaq traders around here. Hell,
So good.
also count to be a Nasdaq. Yes, pretty much spot on there. Shout out Big J. Shout out Jay watching.
Order
chat here.
filled.
Those of you who are commenting on the wind machine, it's not a wind machine. I'm not trying to do like a Beyonce. It's a really hot day in London, so I'm just trying not to die, okay? It's
Yeah.
super hot here.
We thought you were doing a music video over there, D. We thought
Yeah,
you were doing
yeah.
music.
I bring my wind machine with me everywhere.
So good. That buyers keep stepping. Those 27s, value area low from value area low, 55.27s. You'd have a check mark
Yep.
there for the S&Ps. A check mark. That'd be very nice. We do have two
Gold
check
looks
marks.
like it's fairly in the auction, but it's not.
Okay.
Like the profit margin is not great. So we're gonna wait until the neutral day appears and then look for some other opportunities.
IB high there, is that worth a risk? For long?
The
IB
on where?
Gold?
Ooh, I don't know. I wouldn't long this. Because if you look in the daily chart, there's a bearish engulfing on the daily that rejected the supply.
Yeah.
So I'm not really trusting this. This is not what I would want to see if I'm going long, because before you know it, we're going to be at that supply that we just created on Friday, and we're already seeing some
Right.
sellers there. I would need to see more commitment to the upside. If anything,
we
I'm more
certainly
biased
didn't.
to the short side at the moment.
Hey, Flyer Jim. Shout out Flyer Jim. You joined us last week. Up 469 micros, 39 bucks on the XFA. Well, did well this morning. Out to go flying. Very cool. Check in later. Take pics, Flyer Jim. Take pics if you're going flying. Send them in. Maybe we'll go to hashtag Power Hour or hashtag Fast Markets if we get done. Very cool. More buyers here. Look at this. Man, I thought the sellers were going to push this sucker lower, Nick.
Yeah, I did too. But that's
Straight.
like I said. I fumbled my what would have been probably the short of the year for me on Thursday when I called it almost at the top and whatever. I covered, I think at 155, 20,000, 155. And then we waterfalled another 200 points on Thursday afternoon during that weakness. But this is the reminder of like, hey, why would I cover at a 50, 60 point clip on a 3 lot? Well, because it just seems like sellers still just get themselves in difficult situation and get ripped, with short covering and things like that. The second buyers show any initiative. So I take my 20 points and run.
Yeah. Not bad. New highs S&Ps. The high of the day 55.46, 55.46, 55.46 quarter. Those 27s were the nice trade. Value area low. John, I'm confused. Not gonna lie. I thought the sellers were gonna be in control here, and the buyers stepped in and said, "No chance. We're turning this thing around." What do you think?
I've been watching. I'm not seeing any like iceberg orders, anything like that. We did get a little, delta negative when we were stuck in that little range. Now we're, S&Ps are positive 1,800, and now, it's a typical Monday for me. I don't do a lot on Mondays.
So would it, like, if we get a failed auction at some point, do you think it would be worth maybe shorting NQ? Because it's the only one that's kind of outside of or below value, and we already had that rejection first. So maybe we go for a stop run, and then a short.
What price?
That would be
What price
well.
do you like?
Yeah, I mean that's the big question, isn't it?
Yes, it is, D. Yes.
965, 966 would be the first area where I would be looking to even be interested in shorts. I would want to see it get broken just because of the way Nasdaq, how crazy it is.
Yeah.
That's some alarm kicking off here.
We do have settles
so if we maybe we're still kind of, floating around the same zone here underneath value low, and we go for the stop run, take everyone out, and then reverse.
Yep.
966, 965.
Why do you like 66? Why do you like 66s, D?
It's because it's just around value low from Friday. It's a very
Value low,
good area
thank
for reversal if we're going to have it. It's kind of like a line in the sand. So if we go higher into a sustained auction, that's a value acceptance trade, and then we can maybe revisit the long idea. But until such time that we're not able to go into the value, it's still a short.
Order filled.
And Aspires are in the house here. S&Ps. All right, 966. I do have a check mark here. I'm looking at other levels. Don't see them on John's level. No J level. We have one check mark for 966 shorts. Nick, what are you looking at here? S&Ps are above that now. We are at 975
I think
now.
that we're just seeing positioning, and I think a lot of this is very much options driven from just the way things are kind of moving. We're moving very erratically to the upside.